Like me, Sean Yoong was a newswire journalist working with the Associated Press for nearly 15 years, and we both covered central bank governors, top dogs and CEOs in the corridors of power, like in Putrajaya and Cyberjaya. He has successfully reinvented himself from a journalist into a food blogger, and today he is one of the country's most renowned and celebrated food bloggers with his website EatDrinkKL.my. Today we talked about the business and commercialization of his food blog, as well as I guess, making it happen at a time when social media itself is changing very, very rapidly with Instagram and other social media platforms. Yeah, so Sean, hey, we used to cover press conferences together, cover the Prime Minister,
Parliament, Putrajaya,
waiting around for interminable hours.
Yep.
So, at what point in time did the transition to, food blogging begin, and for you to leave that life behind?
Well, I guess I was working for 10 years as a journalist already, and at that point I was getting antsy. And I've always loved eating. I mean, most of my best memories of traveling, for example, have always been eating. So starting a food blog seemed like, a natural progression, especially since it doesn't cost you anything to start a food blog, right?
Correct.
So when you just go around, as long as you have to have a thick face and you don't mind other people look at you when you photograph food, because back in 2009, it wasn't something that you're used to. I mean, the cell phones weren't there at that point. So if you have a camera around that you're lugging around, people do stare at you.
Yeah, but it's been a good 5-6 years now that EatDrinkKL is probably one of the most established food blogs in town. But everybody seems to be starting it. Anybody with a camera has a chance to be a food blogger. So where do you stand in terms of the rankings?
I think I'm lucky in the sense that the food blogging scene isn't as vibrant as it is, say, in Singapore or Bangkok or even in Sydney.
Yeah.
So
what do you think that is?
I think that here generally people. It's pretty fragmented as well. You have Malay bloggers, you have Chinese bloggers, you have English bloggers. So I've sort of targeted the
You've
English
cornered the English market, have you?
Yeah. So that's kind of I've been fortunate in that sense, because there are a lot of other Chinese and Malay food bloggers, but there aren't a lot of people who write in English who have also managed to sustain themselves for this long, because it's also a matter of discipline. Doing something for 7 years every day, it's something that if you don't really have a passion for it, you're not going to keep it up.
So I didn't know that you were involved in this blog until a few years ago. And then the wife used to follow your blog all the time, and she used to say to me, hey, how does this guy afford to blow so much money on food and drinks? It must have cost him a bomb. He must be some rich guy. Right. Then when I found out it was you, it blew my socks away. He's like, hey, I know this guy, it's Sean from AP, right?
It surprises a lot of people, I think. But it's true. When I first started, I was spending about 30% of my salary on food and drinks.
Yeah. But I'm sure it's commercialized. It's commercially viable now. So how does it make money?
Yeah, I've transitioned myself that about 2 years ago. I started, and the first thing I did was an ebook, where the ebook was an ebook of recommendations for restaurants in KL. And then I just approached restaurateurs that I knew and asked them, hey, would you be interested in putting an advertisement in this? It was all very tentative. But I think I was lucky because I had a bit of a reservoir of goodwill among the restaurant owners. And they were like, okay, hey, might as well try. I wasn't charging a lot. I wasn't charging a bomb for these advertisements.
So the streams are like advertising, sponsorship.
I don't do that much sponsorship, but advertising is a good thing for me because I have different platforms now. I have an ebook, I have an app, I have a weekly e-newsletter. So there are different platforms that can be targeted for different restaurants. So
that's how Paul Tan started, right? One-man show years ago. He's now got quite a few people, got 2 or 3 platforms. So he's making some serious money.
Right.
Is that the direction for you?
I think it's harder for food because it's not as lucrative as it is for automobiles. So restaurants also don't have such a huge budget to splurge on advertising and stuff. And it's been also tricky the last 1 year because a lot of restaurants have been suffering from lower sales and lower revenue. So they're tightening their budgets and then realizing that maybe it's not worthwhile to advertise. Maybe it's better to just try to get free publicity through their own Facebook campaigns, to their own Instagram campaigns. So it's a bit of a more precarious path to navigate.
And that's mad, right? Because at that time, 5-6 years ago, blogging and Blogspot, these were the platforms, but things have changed now. You've got all kinds of social media platforms, the phenomenon of the Instagram and pictures, social media connectivity. those have all really overtaken the old guard, if you like. So
when you look at it, it's the college students. I mean, the college students who have 30,000 followers, 50,000 followers on Instagram, and they've accumulated this following just within the last 1 to 2 years.
But where are these followers from? What draw? I mean, you and I are similar vintages, right? So we're kind of like the same age.
Right.
So how do you tap into that? You know, the whole
I think
flow of people.
It's only a youthful thing because also it's generational. When I look at Instagram, I feel like it's a platform where it's very visual, so people kind of like that, I guess. And it's easy for anyone to just have an Instagram account. But the trick is when you look at the people who really have 30,000 followers and 50,000 followers, they really have a curated feed where it's really beautiful and it's distinctive to them. So it's like it's their own voice. It's a visual voice, but it's their own voice.
So does that do you head in? Because I mean, as with any other business, it's got its own set of problems, right? You know, how do you stay ahead? You know, does that pose a headache for you in terms of staying viable, staying commercial, staying appealing?
It does, because I think that a lot of restaurants, they ask you, what can you do for them on Instagram, on social media?
Right.
And I tend to be
you
more...
you don't Instagram?
I don't quite have I don't manage my own feeds. So the thing is that my main thing is that I just run the blog and I try to like just, you know, because I'm a one-man show in terms of content generation. So it's a bit difficult to kind of like manage different kind of platforms.
Right.
So, and I'm not a very visual-oriented person as well. I'm more to words. So my photographs have never been the reason that people actually go to visit my blog. No one goes there and says that, wow, these photos are beautiful. It's not.
Well, unless you put girls next to the food, but
that would be different target audience altogether. Yeah.
So in terms of growth and expansion, do you have a plan in mind, or you know, maybe venture capital funders, you know, level 2, you know, round 2 investors, kind of thing?
I'm not quite that ambitious yet. I mean, I would be open to any discussions, but at this point, I haven't actually explored the possibility of that. I think the problem with it is that so far I've been kind of hands-on with everything, and it's been a bit tricky for me to envision trying to let go of a lot of the aspects of it.
That's right. Yeah, the whole problem of delegation and dealing with the delegation, right? But I think your blog has also come at a very interesting time in Malaysia's F&B scene, because KL, and I'm from Penang, I know what it's like food-wise, right? And Penang used to be the mantle, but now KL has really overtaken Penang, I think, in terms of quality, depth, variety. You can go all kinds of food, you know, Moroccan, Turkish, Italian of course, Spanish, right.
And you have a lot of people who have traveled or studied overseas and they've come back and they've kind of inspired by Melbourne cafes or...
It seems that every week there's a new cafe, a new restaurant opening. I mean, tonight, after this, you're going to go out to a steak meal, right? So, yeah, so do you think that wave is ending anytime soon because of where the economy is generally?
Well, a lot of restaurant owners also say that they have found it difficult the last 1 or 2 years, where basically it's about fluctuating incomes. They can have really good revenues 1 month, and then they'll have a very lean period for the next 2 months. So I think it's the uncertainty that everybody has at this point, which... But, you know, at the same time, F&B has been something that a lot of people are really passionate to go into. They feel like, okay, I want to run a cafe, I want to own a restaurant. I think that's
kind of like the bucket list plan, right?
Yeah, I said that earlier. So a lot of people who I meet, they were from other professions. They had studied accounting, they had been doing banking for 3 years, and then they thought to themselves, okay, we don't like this job, we just really want to own our own restaurant. So I think that is what is the main pull for people a lot.
And what's the next step for you then?
Well, I hope to just continue doing what I'm doing, because I'm doing this basically because not for revenue, not for business sake, but because I really love going out to eat. I love exploring and
it's a good work-life balance, isn't it?
It is, because you know, I found that I turned 40 this year, so it's that kind of age where you well, no, when you turn 40, you kind of like reach the age where you're like, okay, if you have 20 good years of working left in you, you know, what do you kind of want to do? So I've done that 20 years of kind of like doing stuff that I didn't really want to do. So maybe hopefully for the next 20 years, I'm crossing fingers that since EatDrinkKL has lasted for 7 years, it can last another 20 years. Yeah,
it should be, as long as you evolve or perish, right? Clearly then, these are very early days for EatDrinkKL.my, as well as for Sean Yoong, the food blogger. Right now, he doesn't seem to be all that ambitious in terms of turning it into the next Facebook, but who knows, in time to come, and with the revenue opportunities that come with a very quick and fast changing economic landscape, maybe that day will arrive sooner rather than later.